Which fighter comes to mind when you hear the question, are they legit? I bet right away you picture someone in your brain, and then you also remember all of the doubt that surrounded them, right? Because usually it's an influencer, it's a celebrity that tries their hand in boxing, in MMA, and everyone wants to know, are they legit? Now you may not recognize that guy right there, but that's Jawy Méndez, reality TV star and DJ with over 10 million followers, most of them out of Mexico. Now when he made his MMA debut, tons of people doubted him. And yeah, guess what? He lost that first fight. I bet the critics love that. But what they didn't expect is that he'd be back, hungrier, sharper, and stepping back into La Jaula this Thursday, April 24th, live and free at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Combate Global Force's YouTube channel. So if your first instinct is to hate on someone who's doing something brave, then you need to ask yourself, is this coming from a place of insecurity? Because when someone's known for being an influencer, a singer, an actor, and then they take an MMA fight, you're now forced to face the question, oh my, could that person beat me in a fight? If I was locked in a room with that person, who would leave? Challenges the ego a little bit, right? But then we start to size these fighters up to this unspoken criteria that makes them legit. So I want to flip this question on its head and say, what actually makes a fighter legitimate?
Recording in progress. Hey, thanks for talking with me today.
Yeah, of course. How you been? It's good to see you.
Good, thanks. Yeah, good to see you too. It's been a minute.
So what's on your mind?
Everything. My brain is scrambled. Yeah, I don't know. First question, should I have taken this fight?
That's only a question that you can answer.
I know, I'm saying yes. I feel like I would very much have regretted if I hadn't.
Well, that's good motivation. I think some more confirmation you'll get once you actually start stepping up your training and doing some sparring. You'll realize that's the ultimate test, is showing up when you're tired and you don't feel like it, when your body hurts, and then just pushing through the workouts when you want to give up. Like we always say, like, fights are won and lost in training, not in the actual match itself.
I would argue that the fight itself is on the lower end of what legitimizes a fighter. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say someone takes a fight. They get knocked out in 10 seconds because they didn't do any training for it. Well then, yeah, that's a publicity stunt. That's a cash grab. That's a payday. But if you got someone who's putting in the work day in and day out, 6 days a week, they're a good teammate, they're a good student, they're paying respects to the gym, and they're ultimately paying respects to the sport by putting in the effort, by making weight, staying disciplined and doing the work when they don't want to, that's what legitimizes someone. It's not about the paycheck. People act like being a professional fighter and getting paid to fight is what legitimizes someone as an athlete. So, which is ironic because anybody can take a professional fight. You can become a professional boxer tomorrow. You can become a professional MMA fighter, no problem, but they're gonna probably put you against someone that's gonna tear your head off. But does that make you legitimate because you got paid? I would argue that the amateur fighters that aren't getting paid, the ones that are working 9-to-5 jobs, that have kids that they got to take care of, and they're finding time to get to the gym 5-6 days a week, those people are even more legitimate than the guy who skips the line, right? And then you got the opposite end where people go, yeah, don't skip the line. I work really hard for this. It's like, yeah, but you're still stepping into the ring. You're putting all of that on the line, and you haven't had all of the experience. You haven't had the practice. So now you have to go right to the professionals without any of the amateur experience. I think that's pretty admirable too. I get it. Believe me, I understand. But this is the world that we're living in, where people want to see. And you vote with your view. You vote with your like. You vote with your comments. So even if you're upset about the person who skipped the line, you're still tuning in. You're still watching. So you're saying one thing, but you're doing another. I consider a fighter legitimate when they keep coming back. I'm not worried about the performance. I'm more worried about how they respond to the experience itself. How do they respond to the crowd, to the nerves, to the doubt, to the haters? How do they respond to adversity, right? Maybe it's in training, on the mats. They're getting beat up in sparring. They're getting tapped out when they're rolling over and over and over again. If they come back the next day, that tells me everything I need to know, because they know that growth only happens outside of their comfort zone. And the thing that comes to mind here is that famous poem, The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. You know it, right? I don't know the last time you read it, and I don't know how much weight it carries for you, but I'll tell you this, it means a lot more if you've been in a couple of fights. And that's kind of the weird phenomenon, is like the people who are the loudest, ironically, are the ones who have never been in a fight. But I just had my first commentary gig. Combate Global, Campbell McLaren, the co-founder of the UFC, the guy who hired Joe Rogan to be a commentator, hit me up on Instagram and said, I want you to come out and commentate for Combate Global. If you're not familiar with them, they are one of the most watched MMA organizations. They are about to blow up. Definitely give them a follow, but they invited me to come back. I guess I did a good enough job. I'm going back down April 24th, and the headliner is between Jawy Méndez and Rafael Monterola.
In La Jaula, Jawy Méndez returns to action right behind us. He is definitely going to bring a different style and a different fighter inside La Jaula. Make sure you subscribe so you can get that notification to tune in April 24th live on YouTube.
Now, if you're not familiar with these guys, check this out. Jawy has over like 10 million subscribers across all of his platforms because he was in 9 seasons of the Mexican Jersey Shore. It's called Acapulco Shore. And listen, like, I'm not one that watches reality shows, but this guy had a match a couple of years ago, fought a good fight, like surprisingly really good kicks, good aggression, not the best takedown defense, not the best on the ground, but he's been consistently training, consistently getting better. He took a loss, and he's coming back and doing it again. Instantly, you're going to get my respect right off the bat right there. And I asked him, why are you doing this? Why are you doing MMA? And he said when he was presented an opportunity, he wanted to challenge himself. He said, I got heart. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to put myself out there again and again and again. Despite the language barrier, I could tell you that Jawy Méndez is a good dude and ultimately has that last characteristic that, to me, makes a fighter legitimate, which is coachability.
Good student because you pick it up right away.
I learn fast.
Yeah, it shows. And that's all a coach looks for in a fighter.
I would offer advice and he would do it like that, and he would do it like that every single time. And that's what a coach looks for in a good fighter. And to me, if a fighter is doing that, that means they're eager to learn. That means they're willing to grow, and they're going to stay dedicated and driven, and they're going to continue doing that so they can be the best version of themselves. It's not about getting in there and taking one fight and getting paid. It's about growth. It's about putting in the work, showing respect to the sport itself, and yeah, being an entertainer. Jawy fights this Thursday, which I'm going to be commentating on. I would love if you tuned in. I would love if you blew up the chat. Combate Global is taking over, and I want you guys to join the movement with us. Tune in April 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time this Thursday, live and free on Combate Global Force, right on their YouTube channel.